Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to another video, last one for the week. And then you'll have your weekly assignment on Friday. In this one, we're jumping into slope point form, which is our third form of an equation and the last form. And just learning, hey, maybe can I pull some information from a graph? Could I use this form of the equation, just adding another tool to our belt and putting it all together. So we have slope intercept, general form, and now this one's called slope point, and we'll dive into that today. Here we go, page 579, looking at more equations of linear relations, and this time we're going to look at slope point form. So quick review to start. We know two forms right now. One's called general form, and one is called slope intercept form, and let's write those out. So general form, that was the pretty one, everything all on one side. AX plus BY plus C is equal to 0, where A, B, and C were all integers. Okay, no fractions or decimals allowed, and A has to be positive. Okay, slope intercept, y equals mx plus b. Tells us the slope and tells us the y-intercept. Okay, so as we look at another form, what I want to remind you of is, yeah, we can represent the same line in all three forms. It's the same equation of the line. I just rearrange it to make it look different and have it be a little bit more convenient. Okay, so general form, that's the one that looks pretty. Slope intercept, we call it slope intercept because it tells us the slope and it tells us the y-intercept. Slope point form, maybe you have a guess as to why we call it slope point. Okay, so let's dive in and figure it out. So it says you have the graph of y plus 3 equals 2, bracket x minus 1. So a bit of a complicated equation. Got some brackets, got things on both sides. But whatever, here it is. Okay, there's my line. Determine the slope of that graph. Okay, well, if I'm going to find the slope, I need 2 points that I can kind of talk about. So A, I might as well pick that one. It's already labeled. And then the next good point would be, I don't know, maybe this one up here. It's hard to say. I'm trying to find one right in the crosshairs. Rise over run. My rise would be 1, 2, 3, 4. My run would be 2. So rise over run, 4 over 2. Oh, that's just 2. And then it says, well, hey, why was that point A labeled? Let's write that point. The point A is 1, negative 3. X is 1, y is negative 3. And then you say, okay, well, you got a slope of 1. You got this point, slope of 2. Then you got this point 1 comma negative 3. Do you see those in your equation? My equation again, y plus 3 equals 2, x minus 1. Well, I definitely see I got a slope of 2. And there it is, sitting in front of my x. My x happens to be in brackets. And then, do I see a 1 and a negative 3? No, I don't see a 1 and a negative 3. What I see is a minus 1 and a plus 3. But, you know, I kind of see those numbers. Sign is maybe different. It was plus, it was minus. But I kind of see those numbers, and I kind of think, okay, well, my y value is negative 3, and over by the y I have a 3. My x was 1, and over by the x I have a 1. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Slope point form, and there seems to be connection to the slope and a point. All right, let's take a look at this one. Y minus 1 equals negative 2/3, x plus 4. Determine the slope. Well, slope, okay, I've got B again. I've got 1 point. Let's find another one. Looks like pretty close to it. Looks like another good point. Rise over run, down 2. So slope equals negative 2 over 1, 2, 3, negative 2/3. Huh. Maybe I see that in my equation. And then it says list the coordinates of B. Okay, well, I was back 4, so my x is negative 4. And then it's up 1, so negative 4 comma 1. Do you see that? Do you see that in the equation? Well, yeah, absolutely. Hey, that's slope again, negative 2/3. Like that thing sitting out in front of the brackets. Okay. And then do I see negative 4 and 1? Yeah, kind of. I see a positive 4 and I see a minus 1. Okay. Well, here is the actual slope point form. Okay. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay. Well, if I look at that form, I think we're good with slope, right? Slope is just going to be that coefficient out front. Okay, slope equals m, or that coefficient out front. And then what I'm noticing about this, and if I look back at the couple examples, slope point, what I have is y, that's a variable, minus y1, meaning minus your y value. So if I go to the one above, the point was negative 4 comma 1. My y value is 1. It's y minus that y value. My x value is negative 4. X minus negative 4. Oh yeah, minus a negative is just plus. Okay, go above. Y value of negative 3. Y minus negative 3. Yeah, minus a negative would be plus. X value of 1. X minus your x value. Okay, so that is slope point form. The slope, m, and then my point is the x1 and the y1. It's saying plug into that. Okay, so this is slope point form, and it's really useful to know. It's something I would give you on a formula sheet. If you were to have a formula sheet, it's just something you want to have written down so you can reference. That is slope point form. Y take away the y value equals m brackets x take away the x value. Okay. And we're going to use it. We'll dive into it a lot, and I think you'll get the hang of it. Okay. We're going to skip this next page, a couple more explanations. Basically what this does is it talks about how does this relate to the slope formula. I don't really care. Okay, let's actually use this thing. Okay, so here it is all summed up for you. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This could give us the same equation as y equals mx plus b, or general form. It represents the same line. It's just another form. And instead of telling me the slope and y-intercept, it tells me the slope and a specific point.
Well, what's your point, Mr. Potter?
Okay, where m is the slope, and then x1, y1, that's my point. Okay. Yeah, okay, a little bit more information, don't really care. It says, note, the slope point equation is used when we have the slope of a line and the coordinates of any point on the line. When using this method to determine the occasion of the line, it is usual to give the final equation in general form or slope-intercept form. So it's not, especially compared to general form, it's not the prettiest form, okay, but it's an equation of the line, and that's really all I need. So really all that's saying is make sure you read the question. It might say convert it to general. It might say convert it to y equals mx plus b. If I just ask for the equation of the line, leave it in slope point form. That's totally fine. That is a totally valid equation. It's when I ask you to convert it after, that's when you need to do a bit more work. Okay, so state the equation in slope point form of the line through the given points. So what I'm going to do is label what I have. A point tells me my x1, y1. And then it just has the slope listed, right? The point and the slope. I am going to start for the first little while here. I'm going to write down the equation. Y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. Okay? And then it's just like plug and play. The y and the x, those are your variables. Those need to stay variables. It's the y1, x1, that's the point, and then slope is your slope. So y minus your y value would be y minus 5 equals m, your slope, which is 3, times x minus your x value. There you have it. That is an equation of the line. It has a slope of 3, and I know it goes through the point 6 comma 5. Okay, so really having this formula close to you and able to reference is really, really useful for slope point because it's just a bit more complicated. Okay, especially with these minuses, right? It's a little awkward, the subtraction part of it, okay? And that's it, right? It doesn't ask me to convert. That is a valid equation of the line. All right, let's do the next one. I'm going to label my points x1 and y1, and then I also have my slope. So it's y take away the y value equals your slope times x take away the x value. And those brackets are really important. Okay, I'll do this one slow. Y taking away y1 would be minus -1. Slope of -4, x take away your x value of 1. And this is where subtracting a negative, add a line, change the sign. Subtracting a negative is better written as addition. So y plus 1, -4, x minus 1, right? So at the end of this lesson, we're going to go back the other way, and I'm going to say, okay, here's an equation. What is its slope? And then what is the point? And what I have to remember, it says y plus 1, but that means I had to subtract a negative. So my original y value is negative, right? Y minus 1, okay, well, the x value is just 1 because it was supposed to be a subtract. The equation has it as a subtract. So whatever x value I plugged in must have just been positive. Okay, got to keep that in mind. All right, the last one I'll do. And maybe, right, if you're feeling comfortable, let's not write down the formula. I'm still going to label x1, y1, and my slope. But maybe I go, okay, y minus -8 equals 1/2 x minus -9. And for both of those, subtract the negative is just a positive. So I get y plus 8 equals 1/2 x plus 9. And it's remembering, the reason I have a plus 8 in here is because I actually started with a negative. Subtract a negative, that's where the positive comes from. Okay, so the more we do, the easier it is to go back the other way. All right. Question number 2, in each case, the slope of a line and a point are given. Determine the equation of the line in slope y-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. Okay, well, here's where I can't just jump to y equals mx plus b. If I had the y-intercept, I absolutely could, but I don't. I just have this point. So my goal is always to find an equation of the line, and then I'll figure out how to put it to the form I need. So in this one, if I have a point and I have the slope, I'm going to say, okay, well, yeah, m is 5. You have your x1, y1. The equation of that line is not x, y minus your y value. So y minus 2 equals the slope of 5 times x minus your x value. Okay, well, that would be x minus -5 or x plus 5, right? That's how I got the x plus 5. So that's the equation of the line. If I just asked you to find the equation of the line, there it is. Okay, but what I'm actually asking is go a little further, right? Rearrange this to y equals mx plus b. Okay, well, if I'm going to rearrange it, I better clean some things up. So I'm going to start by getting rid of these brackets. And I'm going to do the distributive property. So I get y minus 2 equals 5x plus 25. And then you say, okay, well, move everything away from the y, which is, I don't want to subtract 2. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. Y equals 5x plus 27. There you go. Okay. On a graph, those are the same exact line. This is in slope point form. This is in slope y-intercept form. But I'm good to go, right? I had my point, and I'm ready to roll. Okay. Then I'm good to go. Okay. B, why don't you do that one ahead of me? So pause the video and do the same exact thing.
6 months later.
And there you have it. Your answer for B started by putting in slope point form, point, and then I convert it, right? And I can change it to y equals mx plus b. So maybe this question is saying just this, right? Convert it to y equals mx plus b. Or maybe it would say something like, okay, here's some information, right? what's the y-intercept? Well, if I wanted to find the y-intercept, I can't find it in this form. I have to make it look like this first. And we can kind of work and change things to convenient forms as we want them. Okay. But with this one, if I have the point, right, I know I can go to slope point form. So it's a very convenient one to go to, and then I work from it from there. Let's see. John and Nikki were solving the following quiz questions. Determine the equation in general form of a line with a slope -2 passing through the point 3, -5. Josh could only remember the slope y-intercept form, but Nikki remembered the slope point form. Complete their work, which is started below. Okay. John is doing a method that I don't particularly care for. So we're not going to do his method. I would forget about that. And we'll just do Nikki's work. Okay. So what Nikki said is, hey, I have the slope and I have a point. So I can very easily find the, what am I trying to say? Find the equation, right? And then I can convert it however I want. So she said, y minus your y value equals the slope times x minus your x value. And at the very bottom, she's plugged it in. Here's my y value, here's my x value, here's my slope. Continuing her work, y minus -5 would be y plus 5. Okay, and now I get to here. Now it says, well, we actually wanted this to be slope y-intercept. So now we do the convert thing that we just did on the other page. Okay, distribute in that -2. Y plus 5 equals -2x minus 6. And rearrange, get rid of that 5. Y equals -2x minus 11. There you go. Okay, so same question we just did, just finishing someone else's work. Okay, well, let's move on. Here we go. The line on the grid passes through at least 2 points with integer coordinates. Determine the equation of the line in general form. So this is a classic question that we're going to get to now, where it's, I'm just giving you information and I'm telling you to get somewhere, which is get to general form. I cannot go right to general form. I have to do some work in the middle. I got to figure out some pieces in the middle. So what I'm thinking is, all right, find the equation of the line, I need the slope, and I need a point, right? Maybe if I had the y-intercept, I could just use the slope and y-intercept, but that doesn't look like a very good y-intercept. Okay, so now what I'm going to say is, okay, well, let's find the slope, right? So it says there are at least two integer coordinates. This looks like one. Okay, that is the point -6, 0. And, where's another one? Maybe right here. Maybe right here, which would be -2, -3. Okay, those look like pretty good points, right? And I think I could probably find the slope from there, right? Because I can say from those points, down 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4. -3 over 4. Fantastic. That's not a very good circle at all. Okay. Are there other points we could have picked? Probably. I think this point works right there. So maybe you could have picked that one. Nope, not that one. Above it. There we go. Okay. But I just needed my 2 points to find slope. Okay. And then if I'm going to use slope point form, I also need a point. And you say, well, let's go to this one too. 2, -6. And you think, I have 3 points on here. It doesn't matter which one you pick. Okay. -6, 0, -2, -3, 2, -6, doesn't matter. I just need a point on the line. I already have the slope. I'm going to pick any point, right? So let's pick the middle one, -2, -3. Okay. And from that, I am ready to turn this into an equation. It's not going to be general form. I can't jump to general form, but I'm going to go through slope point form. So I have x1, y1. I've got my slope already. Y minus your y value. Okay, well, that would be y minus -3. equals your slope of negative 3/4 times x minus your x value. X value is also negative. So here's where maybe I don't show this step, but y minus negative 3, that's just y plus 3. So maybe you just jump to there. Negative 3/4, x minus your x value, it's actually x plus 2 because it's subtract a negative. Okay, so if I just asked you for the equation of the line, you would stop here. But I was a little bit greedy. Okay, I asked for a little bit more and I said, let's go to general form. Okay, well, general form, this just means I have to go a little bit further than the slope-y-intercept, but I still got to get rid of these brackets, so let's do that. Y plus 3 equals negative 3/4 x plus negative 3/4 times 2 is, so actually it would be a negative, so minus 3/2. Okay, negative 3/4, negative 3 divided by 4 times 2 is 1.5, math fraction, enter. Okay, negative 3/2. All right, well, this is a little bit of a tricky one, okay, but ultimately I'll be able to do it. I need to move everything to one side. So in this one, I have 2 pieces on either side, so it doesn't matter. Let's move everything to the left. So I'm going to add 3/4 x to both sides. 3/4 x plus a y plus a 3 equals negative 3/2. Good, I'm trying to get this thing equal to 0. I add 3/2. That cancels out. I add 3/2. And I end up with 3/4 x plus a y plus, this is where my calculator can be pretty useful. Okay, 3/2 plus 3 is 4.5. Write that as a fraction, 9/2. Okay, great. So one of the necessary things for general form is everything on one side equal to 0. Good, I did that. Now I have to get rid of the fractions. So I look at this and I say, okay, I just go left to right. I don't like this divide by 4. Okay, the denominator 4, the opposite of divide by 4 would be to multiply by 4. But if I'm going to do that, I have to do it to everything. What I do to one side, I do to the other. That's how I maintain the balance. One side got 4 times bigger. The other side needs to as well. Okay, so as I distribute that thing, I get 3x, right? The 4 divided by 4 cancels out, plus 4y, plus, and again, let's just go to our calculator. 9/2, that's the last thing in there, times 4, you get 18. 4 times 0 is 0. There you go, the equation of that line in general form. Okay, and that was a hard conversion. That was probably the hardest conversion we've actually done. I think that was harder than anything from yesterday. But use your calculator to help you out. So there you go. Maybe I don't give you a graph. Maybe I just give you some points and I say to do this. But really it's find the point, right? Use the point to find your slope point form. And then from there I can go anywhere. I could go to y equals mx plus b, or I could go all the way to general form. All right. Last question before you do some homework. In each case, state the slope of the line and write the coordinates of a point on the line. This is harder than you might think. All right. I'm going to do the first one and then I'll tell you to pause and go ahead of me. But this is a little tricky. So for the first one, I think slope is really easy. Slope is in front of the brackets, 1/7. In terms of my point, I need to remember it's supposed to be y minus y1 and x minus x1. So the x is actually easy. X minus 4, x minus x1. Okay, it's supposed to be minus and it is minus. Your x1 is just 4. So my x value is 4. In terms of the y value, it's a plus and it's not supposed to be a plus. It's supposed to be minus the y value. So this is where I know that means it was subtract a negative. This was y minus negative 11. Subtract a negative. That gives me the positive. That is my point for negative 11. So just watch out, keeping in mind, right? Here is what it's supposed to be. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. It's supposed to be subtract, so I keep that in mind as I look at all these questions. All right, so you've got 3 left. The fourth one is actually a little tricky, but go ahead. Okay, pause the video and go ahead of me.
Many months later.
Okay, hopefully you went ahead. What I've done is written the slope, and I'm starting to look at my points. So I'll do B. This one is actually easier. It's supposed to be written as y minus the y value. It is. Your y value is just 9. X minus the x value. It's supposed to be written as a subtract. So your y value is just, or your x value is just the 7. Done. Okay. Go to the next one. Okay, well, x value, it's supposed to be x minus your x value. Okay, x value is 6. Good. In terms of the y value, y minus your y value, well, I'm not subtracting anything. So you'd say, well, what value would you have put there? Y minus 0, right? My y value is nothing. Subtract 0, I don't bother to write. So it's still there. It's just a 0. So it doesn't affect anything. Okay. And then I go over to D, y equals negative 3x minus 6. If I'm talking about the slope and a point of this thing, that is not in slope point form. That is in slope intercept form, which still tells me slope and still tells me a point. It just tells me that very specific point. So your m, your slope is negative 3. Your b value is negative 6, which is the point. Negative 0 comma negative 6. It's the y-intercept, right? So yeah, slope-intercept form tells us a point too. It's the specific point though. It's the y-intercept. All right, that's it. So let's do some homework. What I got for you? There you have it. You can read it. I won't read it out loud. And yeah, that's it. That is it for the video. So just some homework today. No assignments today other than the homework. And then tomorrow I'll be posting the weekly assignment. That'll be your standard 10 questions on a Google form. And that'll be it for this week. So ask lots of questions in the form, set up a one-on-one appointment, smash the like button, hit subscribe, tune in again next week for more videos.